Hey y'all, just want to come to you in this video to maybe showcase how I tend to start my mood boards and some of the things that I do to ensure that I'm either hitting requirements or providing what I think that the client might need in the mood board. So I'm just going to maybe walk you through a little bit of my setup and what I do to kind of get started in my mood board in this video. So if you've watched the Adobe XD onboarding from last Thursday, I won't go into too much detail about the startup screen or how to get started in XD. If you haven't watched that yet, please go back and watch that. It's a great in-depth video of how to get started in XD, some of the neat tips and tricks as you experience this new product, this new application. But this will be our first time really diving into one of the deliverables that you would be creating as a UI UX designer, and how we might use this tool to design a beautiful piece that we can share with our client. And so what I've done is I've launched Adobe XD, and so I know just based off of the requirements for this project, this deliverable, this milestone within Blackboard, that it doesn't really fit kind of the presets here with the iPhone XR, the Web 1920 by 1080, or Instagram story. And so this would fall in that custom size category. And I know just based off the requirements in the discussion post kind of instructions there, you see that it's a width of 1920 and the height is going to be 2160. And we're just going to hit enter. And what that's going to do is it's going to create my artboard for me. So I've already actually started one in another file, but just to kind of show you how you get started there, and I'm going to pull that other one up on screen for us here. So what I've done here is I've actually started to compile some of the things that I would typically do at the start of any mood board or project. And so one of the first things I do is if I've taken any notes from the client, or if I've actually sketched out what I think I might want this mood board to look like, I'll pull in those assets and some of the other assets that I've collected as I've kind of brainstormed about this mood board or compiled ideas about this new redesign. I'll pull those into my canvas. If you have used Photoshop or Illustrator or any other design tool in the past, you know that the outside, the perimeter of your canvas will probably get a little messy, and then you'll work to refine that over time on canvas. And so I just copied and pasted this from the requirements that are in the instructions in this module. And so I know that to meet the requirements for this mood board, I need to include a color palette, typography, any textures or patterns that might be included, any photography that I'm selecting, or the photography that I might want to use on the site or on this redesign. Pulled in any UI inspiration. It wouldn't be a UI mood board if we didn't give any idea of what type of inspiration or kind of what concepts we're pulling from for our redesign. And then also 4 adjectives or 4 descriptions of the emotion that I want to communicate, or the vibe that I want to have on this new website redesign. And so I've got a few of those things over here. I've just went out to handleshomemadeicecream.com or handlesicecream.com and pulled in photography that I think is visually appealing on their site, photography that I might use for inspiration on the redesign that I'm working on. And again, this is a mood board, so it's all about gathering ideas and inspiration and compiling it to present it to a client to say, are we in the right direction? Are we heading down the right path? And so I just want to pull any photography that I think might be usable on their site. If your site doesn't have photography, then there are options that are out there. There's a great website called Pexels, P-E-X-E-L-S, as well as Unsplash.com that are kind of open market, free photography. That would be a great place to start. You can also maybe search your business's social media handles or other alternative outlets that they might be posting on to gather inspiration or to gather photography that you might use on your website redesign. I've pulled these from Handles. I might pull some other inspiration or other photography as I go to actually create the site, but this is at least a good starting point for my mood board, I think. I also pulled in some UI inspiration, and so I just went to a site like Behance or Dribbble or other UI inspiration platforms, and I just searched for ice cream or ice cream interface or ice cream web design, and I pulled in some screenshots of some UI that I think is inspirational and one that I might want to take inspiration from when I create my redesign. Also pulled this image straight from perhaps a competitor of handles, Jenny's Ice Cream, Jenny's Splendid Ice Cream. I think they're a Columbus-based company, and they have one here in Nashville that I just love. Just wanted to pull this kind of snapshot from their website that I thought was a really elegant way, or fun and playful way, that they showed their different pints of ice cream that they have, or their pint club. So I wanted to include that as well. So off the bat, I've just went out and I can kind of show you my file structure that I have. I just have handles assets, any existing photography. I've got the handles logo. Let's drag and drop that in here. I don't have that here. That's always good to include, especially if you're not going to change the client's logo. You want to make sure you include that. I also have those images you see as well. The Hot Fudge Brownie, Alice Handle's face, the Our History banner. I just think that's a really nice watercolor painting that we might use in the redesign. I've got the image of the customer holding the ice cream, and I've got the image of the girl eating the ice cream as well. She also has it on her nose, and I can relate to this with my daughter eating ice cream for sure. I also have UI inspiration here, and so you see I've taken screenshots of this butterscotch UI that I thought was very visually appealing, the Pint Club, and this example of an ice cream's layout and UI. And I just drag and drop that into the XD canvas that we went through there a little bit ago. I also have screenshots of the existing UI. So that's something that we asked you to do in the previous module for this, or the previous discussion post. And so I've got my screenshots here. And so actually what I like to do is include at least the home page as off the canvas inspiration. And so I'm going to pull that in as well. Make it a little bit smaller, and it'll just sit here off canvas. So I know that this is the current website of handles. So let me do current website. So you can see as I start, you might also want to sketch out your mood board first. And that's a great place to start for this, to sketch out really quickly kind of what you want this mood board to look like. But you can see here on Canvas, I've got my current website just for visual kind of inspiration and reiterating what that looks like. I've got some existing photography that I might want to include over, and I've got some inspirational UI that I might want to mimic or look to for inspiration in my site's new layout. Some of the other things that I've asked you to include is typography and color palette. And so I'm going to just really quickly make some color choices kind of as I look at Handle's existing website and where I think I might want to take the new website. And so I'm just going to draw a rectangle to serve as kind of a color swatch. And so if I click the I button on my keyboard, it just brings up the color selection. So I know blue and red is a really iconic color palette for Handles, and so I'm going to select their blue. I know I want to use that, and I'll probably select the red as well, just because I know I want to use that also. One thing that I want to just make sure that you have included in your mood board is at least a primary and secondary color. Anywhere between 2 to 5 different color options on a website is typically ideal, but you definitely want to have a primary and a secondary color, then any accent colors that you want to have included. So one thing that I think is really nice about Handles is they've got this, ice cream cones is a big part of what they do. And so, and the experience of eating ice cream at Handles. And so I'm just going to maybe color select this ice cream. I don't quite know what I'm going to do with that color yet, but I might want to include that on the website itself. And so I'm probably also going to include some type of dark or black color to include on the website just for text and body copy. And so I'm going to come in here into the swatch selector, and I'm going to maybe just select a deep, rich off black that I might want to include as text on the site. So now I've got my color palette maybe that I want to choose from for Handles here at the very top. And what I'll start to do is maybe just think about how I might want to lay out this mood board. And so it's great to have, I know colors is an option here. I definitely want to include their logo on the page on this mood board. Also too, there is the 4 adjectives that we want you to use to describe the emotion and feeling that you might want to convey on this site. So just looking at Handles' website, I know homemade is a word that comes up a lot. I know that the word local, these are all local establishments, locally owned by franchisees. Also, the word friendly comes to mind. As I look at the site, I'm not a great speller, as you guys know from previous videos, but friendly comes up. That feeling of a local, friendly, homemade ice cream parlor or establishment is something I would want to convey on this site. And then also fresh. I know from working there for 6 years and having made the ice cream that it's made fresh every morning. And so I don't necessarily get that on their current site. I see some beautiful illustrations, watercolors, some staged photography. I see there's an option to view history and that they're in the news a lot, but these words don't really embody the site as it exists today. And as we think about a redesign, those would be words or adjectives or emotions that I want to convey in this redesign. And so I've got those. So as you can see, as I'm going down the list, I'm just checking the boxes to make sure I've got them covered. And then we'll go about designing this mood board to convey the emotions and the feeling that I want to have in this new website. And so some of the other things you need to include are typography. And so I'm going to include just a quick tagline that I came up with here that I think embodies kind of at a high level what Handles is and what they stand for. Local, homemade ice cream, made fresh daily for over 80 years. And so just looking at their site, I know that this is true about their company, their organization. And so what I'll do is I'll just use this to showcase what I think I want to have as a headline font. And so I went out to a source like Google Fonts or other alternative type platforms that you might go to. Adobe has a type platform as well. But just looked for a font that I thought might be great for a headline font. And so you can see here I've selected one called Francaise. It's a playful font. It's a serif font. And so usually serif fonts in UI design are reserved for headlines. It's really difficult to read serif fonts in body copy. And so we tend to shy away from serif fonts for body copy in UI design. But definitely for headlines, it's a great headline font. And so I've got this selected, this Francaise website, or this Francaise font. And so I might just actually then make a little note that this is going to be my headline. Just so as I present this to the client, they know that when they're looking at this tagline, that this would be an example of what they could expect for their headline on their new website. And so, like I said, all you're doing in this mood board is getting ideas on paper that you feel like you can present to the client. The next thing that I want to do is think about a body font. And so in the body font, or the site that would appear maybe in large about text or large swaths of text on your site, typically in UI design you see sans serif reserved for body copy or body text. And so I'm actually going to use a font that I found on Google as well called Poppins. I think it's a nice sans serif font that has a lot of great font weights and options. And so I'm going to use that, I think, as my body copy. So you can see this kind of plays well together. Sorry, I've got the V's kind of showing up here. But the body copy and the headline play really nice together. I've got my adjectives here that I might actually just go ahead and keep it all in theme and all in the family, and use this Francaise font to highlight those as my adjectives that I want to include on my mood board and in my new website. So you can see here, I'm going to go ahead and move this off canvas because I've kind of started to get a look and feel of how I want to portray my mood board. And then you can see I've got my colors selected, my color options, my logos there, my adjectives, my headline, my body copy, my typography examples. And then I'll just select some images that I want to highlight on in this redesign as well. So I'm going to include those here for the redesign, and I'll include those on the new on my mood board for my client presentation. And so also too, I might include, definitely want to include the UI examples. And so I'll probably play around with this to see, what layout, how I want to portray these selections in this mood board. But you can see off the bat here, I've got my logo, I've got my color palette, my type selections, my photography that I want to include from the site, any UI inspiration, and my 4 adjectives. So this is just a start for me. I'll probably come back to this, revisit it, iterate on it But just wanted to give you an idea of maybe how I start mood boards, gathering some inspiration, putting it all on paper, and I'll go and add some unique elements to make this a little bit more creative. Definitely leverage those skills that you've developed as a designer in Intro to Graphic Design and other courses you might have taken, just to create a nice, beautiful mood board that you would present back to your client, just to make sure that you're moving in the right direction, or you've got all your thoughts on paper as you create your mood board and then go into your redesign. So I hope this was helpful. I'll just mention again that I'm really excited about the live Q&A that we're going to have this Thursday, so 2 days from now, on Blackboard Collaborate, on that live option there. If you have questions or you want to talk a little bit more about mood boards, feel free to join me. I'll be there from 5:30 to 6:30 local time, and excited to just answer any questions you might have as we went through the first week and a half, 2 weeks of the course. Any questions you have about UI and UX, any questions you have about mood boards, we'll looking forward to joining me there. It's not going to be graded. If you have questions you want to join, fantastic. If it doesn't fit in your schedule, that's fine too. But looking forward to seeing y'all and meeting you in that time frame. So thanks for listening in. Just wanted to give a quick overview of how I start mood boards. Definitely sketch yours out first. Come into XD and start to lay it out. Make sure you meet all the requirements. And I'll include a video as well a little bit further below this discussion post to go over some of the requirements again for this discussion post. So thanks for watching. Hopefully this was helpful, and let me know if you have any questions. All right. Thanks, guys.